Gentle parenting is all the rage these days. We are hearing about it left, right, and center. But the truth of the matter is, if it's not working for you and your child, you are not alone. There are so many parents who are experiencing more battles, more stress in their home because of this quote unquote gentle parenting approach. Now, the problem that is happening is that there is a big misconception about what gentle parenting is. So in this video, we're going to dive deep into what is real gentle parenting. What are the real approaches when it comes to adopting this style? And what are we trying to achieve when we gentle parent our kids? I'm Lisa, a child behavior expert and a parent coach. I have over a decade of experience as a pediatric occupational therapist. I've worked with hundreds of families, working on family dynamics and conflicts in the home, really understanding what is the cause of the stressors that are happening in family homes today. Now, families, parents, you guys are all being bombarded right now with the number of parenting approaches that you can take. We have so many people, so many experts, parent coaches, moms who are talking about all of these excellent parenting approaches that you need to follow because this is what's going to raise the best kind of kids for our future. But when we are bombarded with all this information, it is hard to cut out the noise, to figure out what is truly the thing that is going to work for our child, right? We're hearing things about authoritarian parenting, permissive parenting, authoritative parenting, neglectful parenting, helicopter parenting. The list literally goes on and on. And so we need to really understand what are all of these different approaches and why are we even following the approach in the first place? What are we trying to get at? But in this video, I really want to talk about gentle parenting because of the fact that it is so popular today. It's like this terminology that parent gurus, mom gurus, they all just want to throw this term out there thinking that it's the best approach. And I think a lot of parents are thinking that this is the gold standard and that we need to follow it. But because gentle parenting has become so popular, there is a lot of misconceptions, a lot of misinterpretation of what gentle parenting is. And that is why we're seeing such a split in people who think that gentle parenting is the best approach and some people who think that gentle parenting is the worst approach. It's raising, entitled kids. And so we really need to get into the real definition of gentle parenting. So gentle parenting, its main focus and approach is on being connected with our child, being emotionally responsive to their needs and respecting our child. So far, so good. That sounds great to me in my books. The second thing is being not overly lenient on boundaries and expectations, right? Holding firm if we have a certain boundary or an expectation in our family, in our home, that we don't always just let that go and let our kids have their way. Again, that sounds really good and clear to me. So what is going wrong with this idea of gentle parenting today? So I believe that the word gentle is it's a term that can be misinterpreted in so many different ways. And many parents who are learning about this term gentle parenting, who are follow gentle parenting experts and gentle parenting parents who are showing a lot on social media, they are misinterpreting what gentle parenting actually is. So after hearing this definition about gentle parenting, you're probably realizing now that, okay, I have misunderstood what gentle parenting is. I need to know more about this. Sign up for my newsletter because I will be sharing more information about gentle parenting, different parenting approaches, what's going to work for your child, different strategies, so many things I put in my newsletter because I want to educate you on what you need to do to help support your child so that you can raise a resilient, a strong, independent thinker, a child who is a problem solver and doesn't become dependent on you. That is my goal on this channel is to give you the tools so that you can raise a child who is going to succeed and thrive in life, especially as they move into adulthood. The first misconception we hear is that gentle parenting just lets your child do whatever they want whenever they want. So if your child wants to play video games, well, we're just going to let them play video games because it's what they want. It's because it's how they feel. And if they don't play it, it's going to make them feel sad, right? So there's this misconception that we have to just let them do whatever it is that they want and please. The second misconception is that in gentle parenting, we never raise our voice and we never set strict limits. So what that might look like, I think where people are getting this idea that we always have to have this nice soft tone to when we talk. And if we're feeling upset, we never raise our voice. We always have this gentle tone. And it's not about having that gentle tone and, just kind of letting our kids do whatever they want. The gentleness comes from being empathetic. The gentleness comes from caring about how our child feels. So that misconception is being really pulled in a totally different direction. The third misconception is that gentle parenting prioritizes our child's emotions over rules and boundaries. Now that is totally going to create kids who are entitled, who feel like whatever I feel is more important than any kind of rule that anyone puts. So that is definitely a misconception that we need to eliminate from our minds because that is not going to serve our kids. And number 4, the misconception is that gentle parenting means that we have no conflict with our kids. We have zero disagreements with them. We're always agreeing. We're always, never getting into arguments with our kids over anything. So we then give in if they are saying something that we don't agree with, right? That makes no sense. So when we gentle parent with these misconceptions, what parents often feel is that they're walking on eggshells with their child every day. Because when you don't set expectations, when you only follow what your child's emotions and let that lead the outcome, you end up feeling like you have no control as a parent and that your child is running the show in your house. These misconceptions also lead to your child being more demanding. They're expecting things out of other people. They also feel entitled. They think that they deserve certain things because whenever I feel a certain emotion, I get my way. This is obviously not the way we want to raise our kids. We don't want to raise entitled kids. We don't want to raise kids who think that they should just get whatever they want in life, because life is not like that. When they go out into the real world, they will really struggle because life is not going to be handed to them on a silver platter. They need to work for things. They need to recognize that there are going to be limits. There are going to be rules in society. There are going to be boundaries and things to follow. So teaching them in your household of those things now is so important for their future. These misconceptions also lead to excessive amounts of stress in homes. Parents are feeling, like I said, walking on eggshells. You feel like your kid is running the show. You feel like you have no authority in your household. This is going to create a lot of strain in relationships in your family, between you and your spouse, between you and your child, between sibling relationships. It's going to lead to a lot of battles. And many parents who have adopted gentle parenting and are not aware of these misconceptions are questioning, why are we doing this? Is this even working? Is this even serving our kids? And the answer is no, unless you start to remove those misconceptions and really get to the heart of what real gentle parenting is. So the real solution to gentle parenting is really finding that balance between empathy and structure. And it can move up and down. There is no one perfect line of balance when it comes to how much empathy you need to give in a situation, how much structure. There is some leeway, which is why it can be confusing at times and why sometimes people who take that gentle parenting approach, they lean too much onto the empathy side and then they take away from that structure, or they're leaning too much in the other direction. And so where gentle parenting lies, if we were to create a graph or an image of where does gentle parenting lie in comparison to other parenting styles. You might have heard of authoritarian parenting styles. This is when parents are not as attuned to your child's emotions. They're not as responsive to it, and they hold high expectation. So there's an expectation of, not making mistakes, of achieving high things. And authoritarian parents don't necessarily say that directly to a child. It might just be something that is embedded in their culture where there's high expectations, and they don't attune to their child if they're feeling very frustrated or sad. They just use a more, harsher approach of, don't think about it. You just need to work harder. You just need to work through that disappointment and just do better next time. And so there's really no, emphasis on how the child is feeling. So that's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is what we call permissive parenting, where we really attune to our kids' emotions and how they're feeling. If they're feeling sad and upset, we really sit down with them, connect with them, let them feel heard and seen in those moments. And permissive parenting, though, it often leads to a removal of certain expectations. So they want their child to, just do things the way they want to do. There's not many rules. We let our kids try to, figure things out as they please. And so gentle parenting falls in the middle of these two types of approaches. When we lean too much in our empathy and we lean too much in, removing certain boundaries and rules, we fall into this permissive state. And this is where a lot of people who really disagree with gentle parenting, and rightly so, feel that gentle parenting is a very bad approach for our kids, because permissive parenting, it really doesn't set expectations for our kids, and kids need expectations. They need boundaries and parameters in order for them to know how far they can go, how much they need to push themselves. So it is absolutely key in child development to give them those boundaries, which permissive parenting doesn't give. And so when your gentle parenting starts to fall on that side of permissive parenting, you know that this is going to start to create that entitlement, that high demanding child, that you need to start leaning more onto the other side. Now, parents, though, who lean too far off of gentle parenting and they really push on, more boundaries and demands, and they don't see where they need to be a little bit more lenient, because, for some of our kids who have different challenging behaviors, if you have a child who is on the spectrum, who has ADHD, who has different processing challenges, and we don't see them for those challenges, we don't support them in those needs and give them some leniency and accommodations, what we end up doing is frustrating them. And in that frustration, they start to build that up inside of them. And it comes out as pushback, defiancy, lots of anger. And so we have to also recognize, where is our child at? And it's really doing a dance with them, moving back and forth between that empathy and setting that structure for them, and finding what is that just right point for your child that is going to help them to know what is expected of them and know when they need to push themselves to achieve, and also feel heard in the process of that. Now, another important aspect of gentle parenting is your tone. So in gentle parenting, we have this misconception that we always have to have this soft, gentle tone to the way we approach our kids. And, we never raise our voice. We never, use a firm tone with them. But that is the complete opposite of what you need to do. You need to use a very firm but kind type of tone, right? That way your child takes you seriously. If you're always speaking in this very airy kind of voice because you think that's what gentle parenting is, your child's going to hear that. And if you have a child, especially if you have a strong-willed child who knows exactly what you want, and they're really pushing back at you, they're telling you, no, I'm not going to listen. I'm not doing that. I'm going to continue playing on my iPad, whatever that situation is. And you come in with this gentle tone and you say, yes, honey, I understand that you want to continue playing, but we have to go sit down for dinner. That is not going to compute into your child, right? So gentle parenting is not about having this soft, gentle tone. It's about having a firm but kind tone to that, right? And it's about respecting your child, right? We're not going to you say things to them that is going to degrade them or make them feel unheard. It's recognizing in that moment, yes, honey, I understand that you want to play with your iPad, but right now it is dinner time and we have to put it away and sit at the dinner table, right? That is a more firm tone. You're still kind, you're still loving, you're still respecting them and acknowledging their feelings, but you're not acting like this airy, using this airy voice that sounds so kind and gentle that you can just push over, right? You don't want to come off as a pushover to your child. And our kids who are strong-willed will push you over. I'm sure you know that if you're watching this, you're recognizing that that type of tone will not work for your child. So remember, be kind and firm. That is the best way to get your child to listen and to recognize that you still have authority in your house and they do have to follow your limits and boundaries. Another aspect to gentle parenting is your body language. How do you show to your child that you are serious when you say certain boundaries to them, when you give certain instructions and expectations to them? Are you kind of bent forward, kind of leaning into them? Are you kind of crossed like this? Body language matters. And I want to say, especially with our sensitive kids, if you have a highly sensitive child who seems to read every kind of tone and emotion that someone feels, they are reading your body language as well. And so if you come off as, kind of tucked inwards, you're leaning your body like this, they're going to know that you're not confident. You have to come in with confidence and firmness and sturdiness when you're talking to your child. And remember, this isn't about asserting this dominating authority where you are talking down to them. It's just asserting that you are the leader here that needs to be listened to. And so if they are pushing back on you, they're tantruming, you're acknowledging their feelings in that moment. You are bringing out that empathy and compassion to how difficult it is to be dealing with this transition. But it is still part of our agreement or a part of our expectation that you are going to do X, Y, and Z, and making sure that your body language is showing that you're showing that confidence in what you're saying, because your child is going to see that, and that's what's going to get them to take you seriously and listen to you and follow your direction. Not only with body language, but also your eye contact makes a huge difference. Are you talking to them and kind of looking away because you're not really even sure of what you're saying, right? You're kind of giving them an instruction, but you're kind of, looking down a bit. Or maybe you are so busy, you're multitasking, right? I know you might have another child, you got dinner to cook, you got this, that, the other. And so your eyes and your attention are looking over here, but you're speaking to them over there. They are not going to listen to that authority. You need to remember that your eye contact makes a difference. It gives them that connection piece that they need to help them recognize that, mom or dad is saying something that I need to take seriously. So remember, give them that eye contact. You also have to be deliberate in your movements, making sure you're calm, right? It's easy to lose our own temper and our own emotional control in heated situations that we might start to amp up. You might notice that your shoulders come up to your ears and you're moving your hands like this, trying to get them to, move faster to direct them. That type of motion, that type of movement can really make things difficult for your child to listen and to follow. And so being firm and confident and deliberate in your motions. If you're trying to direct your child, going like this is really going to amp up the emotions they're feeling versus firmly pointing your hand forward to the direction you want them to go. That exudes confidence, and that tells your child that I need to listen because my parent is the leader. They have authority of the house, and I need to respect that. So with all the noise that you're hearing about gentle parenting, my big takeaway for you is this. Remember that your empathy matters when it comes to parenting your child, and also your boundaries. Setting those firm limits with your child, helping them to recognize that there are rules and expectations, but then also recognizing that there are wiggle rooms to when you parent your child. It's not always about setting such firm limits that end up causing a lot of friction because we're not taking into account of your child's specific needs. We have to remember that there are times where we need to adjust that approach. We need to adjust certain boundaries. If your child, for instance, struggles with transitions, they really have a hard time with that cognitive processing of shifting from one thing to the next. You need to remember that setting firm limits of it's a hard no. You need to put that thing down and we're moving on to the next activity. That might not work for your child. And yes, in gentle parenting, we talk about firmness. We talk about holding firm boundaries. But this might mean in your situation that you need to lean a little bit more into accommodating and finding strategies that are going to help them work on that transition piece. So giving them a timer, a visual timer that is going to help them to make sense of how much time do I have left in my activity before I need to move on to something else, can make a huge difference in reducing battles, reducing tantrums and meltdowns. There's no one size fit all. It is so important to recognize that. And especially if you have a child with special needs, different challenging behaviors, they're on the spectrum, have ADHD, you have to remember that there's no one size fit all, that approaches that you might be seeing online may not fit for your child. And so you have to find what is that just right approach to your unique child and their specific needs. If you're new to the idea of this just right approach to parenting, you want to learn more, subscribe to my newsletter. I share tons of information about this, helping you understand what is the just right approach for my child. How do I even conceptualize what just right even means by looking at different areas of their challenges and finding what's the thing that's going to work for them. That's all the stuff, all the information that I share through my newsletter. If you're looking for more specifics on how do I build my child's emotional regulation, if they're struggling with tantrums and aggressive behaviors and you don't know how to teach them how to regulate their emotions, be able to manage it when they feel frustrated, my course outlines all of this. It really breaks down into foundational pillars of emotional regulation and what aspects you need to be working on with your child. If you need a more tailored approach where you've tried so many things, you've taken lots of courses, you've read up on so many different articles, research papers, and you're still stumped on how do I raise my child in a way that's harmonious, and I, want to raise a child who is confident and resilient, and you want that unique approach that's tailored for your child, my parent coaching is exactly what is going to get you to those solutions for you. So feel free to take a look at my website. All the details are there. If you have specific questions, please DM me, send me an email. I'm happy to answer them. And I hope you liked this video. I hope you found it informative and helpful on your parenting journey. And I will see you guys on the next one.